Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the University Processional.
truth and knowledge. By your wisdom they are taught the way and the truth. Bless these graduates now as they finish this course of study. And thank you for those who have taught, supported, and worked beside them, and all who have walked this journey along the way. Be with these graduates during these moments of celebration and remembrance, and be with them as they lead and move forward in life. Take away their anxiety and confusion, strengthen their many talents and skills, instill in them a confidence in the future you plan, where energies may be gathered up and be used for the good of all people. Amen.
You may all be seated. On behalf of the University Board of Trustees, the administration, faculty, and staff of Dakota Wesleyan, I welcome you to the commencement exercises for the class of 2017. We are grateful to the many friends and family members who have gathered with us today to celebrate this important accomplishment. Commencement comes from the Greek word beginning. After 4 or 5 years, it is understandable that many of you may think of commencement as an ending, as a finish line of sorts. But I would encourage you to think of it today truly as a beginning. I had the privilege of speaking with many of you in your senior exit interviews. And in the course of those conversations, I was regularly moved and humbled to hear so many of you talk about your growth and transformation, the confidence you have gained to delve deeply into what brings you meaning and purpose. Thus, today constitutes that formal beginning. That day when you take what you learned, the skills you have honed, and the myriad of ways in which you have grown and matured, and you head out into the world to begin to make an impact in your small and different ways. Today you begin a new walk down a new road that will be challenging, but also rich in opportunity and deep in meaning and purpose. It is our sincere hope that we have prepared you well for the journey that awaits you. Record numbers of students in the class of 2017 are headed to law school, pre-professional programs, physician assistant programs, physical therapy school, psychology graduate school, the National Institutes of Health, and employment in fields as diverse as writing, counseling, teaching, accountancy, forensic science, policing, and sports marketing, to name but a few. Your plans will take you around the world and across the nation. Some of you are heading overseas for work in ministry and mission. You head to graduate schools from the University of South Dakota to Creighton, to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, to Colorado Boulder, Iowa State, and Minnesota, and you prepare to enter jobs in California and Texas and Florida and Washington, D.C., and right here in Mitchell. Dakota Wesleyan is pleased and proud that the majority of you have already secured new opportunities that have positioned you to utilize your talents, knowledge, and abilities for the greater good. Congratulations and God's blessings to the class of 2017.
Commencement celebrates the attainment of academic degrees, and more importantly, the knowledge and abilities that we are confident a Dakota Wesleyan degree represents. Commencement is a time of formality and tradition. The costumes that the faculty and university officers wear today are known as regalia and connect the academy to its long history. Robes and hoods denote degrees, braids and pins indicate honors, and kellers identify disciplines and universities. As a United Methodist institution, we are committed to maintaining an educational environment that fosters the development of the whole person, intellectually, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Over the past 132 years, Dakota Wesleyan has integrated our values of learning, leadership, faith, and service into a learning experience, the Wesleyan experience, that transcends classrooms and textbooks. We are confident that wherever your next steps may take you, be that the workplace, graduate school, or mission work in the developing world, that you have been fortified with a foundation of knowledge, skills, and dispositions that will enable you to succeed, grow, and flourish. We also hope you understand that the foundation you have acquired here at Dakota Wesleyan represents only the beginning of a life in which you are called to live out our missional values of learning, leadership, faith, and service. This ceremony commemorates your growth and accomplishments, both as students and as human beings. We thank all who are gathered here today in recognition of the graduating class of 2017. We will begin the process of conferring degrees with the awarding of honorary degrees. It is the right and indeed the privilege and responsibility of colleges and universities to recognize and honor the achievements and service of those whose commitment to their communities and professions exemplify Dakota Wesleyan's motto of sacrifice or service. The individuals we will honor this afternoon serve as exemplars for our graduates and personify the hopes we hold for the class of 2017. John G. Clark, please. President Novak, the Board of Trustees has authorized you to confer honorary degrees upon the following candidates in recognition of notable achievement and service in their field. John G. Clark, Honorary Doctorate of Business Administration.
John Clark has spent his entire career building a successful business while also working to make his community a better place to live. A Nebraska native, John got his start in the grocery business working in his parents' store when he was just 12 years old. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in 1974, and that same year, he and his siblings acquired his parents' grocery store in Central City. He added another grocery store and a convenience store to his holdings during the 1970s. Over that same time span, he twice served as president of the Central City Chamber of Commerce, and he was also involved with the Merrick County Development Committee. In 1984, John purchased Bennett's Market in Mitchell, and County Fair Foods was born. Since that time, he has added a convenience store in Mitchell, as well as grocery stores in Watertown, Del Rapids, and Marshall, Minnesota. The Mitchell store had top sales among the 800 affiliated food co-op stores for 9 consecutive years. Over the years, John trained 10 store managers who went on to own their own stores. For the past 35 years, the Mitchell community has been the beneficiary of John's leadership, service, and philanthropy. He has served as president of the Mitchell Area Chamber of Commerce, the Mitchell Area Development Corporation, the Friends of the Middle Border, and the South Dakota Retailers Association. He has been involved in Rotary of Mitchell, the Mitchell Area Charitable Foundation, the Abbott House, and LifeQuest. John led several significant fundraising efforts in Mitchell, demonstrating that he is a hands-on volunteer. He chaired the campaign to build a new Dakota Discovery Museum. He was the co-chair of the $400,000 campaign to build a new community theater after the State Theater burned down in 2004. And he also served as co-chair of the Building Our Future Fund Drive, which raised $1 million to advance economic development in the Mitchell area. John has received many honors for his community volunteerism as well as for his professional leadership. He was invited to participate in the 1995 White House Conference on Small Business. In 2001, he received the South Dakota Retailer of the Year Award. He received the Mitchell Chamber Community Service Award in 2002 and the Harold Hagen Award for Economic Development in 2005. County Fair received the 2009 Mitchell Area Prairie Family Business of the Year Award, and the County Fair Foods in Watertown and Mitchell received state awards for employing people with disabilities. During John's 12-year term on the Dakota Wesleyan University Board of Trustees, he served as chairman of the Development Committee, assisting one of the most significant growth periods in our history. John and his wife Luann have underwritten a generous annual fund matching gift, which has helped to inspire an all-time high number of Wesleyan Fund donors. The Clark family has endowed the Clark Award for Teaching Excellence, an award recognizing an outstanding DWU faculty member each year. The Vicki Clark Memorial Award for Leadership and Service, which is an annual student award, and the Luann Hofer Clark Endowed Scholarship for nursing students. Through the generosity and commitment of the Clark family, hundreds of students have received scholarships for post-secondary education. John and Luann are blessed with 3 children and 4 grandchildren. John, you have served the Dakota Wesleyan University and the greater Mitchell community with your leadership and philanthropy. In recognition of your life and service, it is our great privilege to present you with the Honorary Doctor of Business Administration.
Thank you, Dr. Novak. At this time, I'd also like to thank the Board of Trustees for Dakota Wesleyan for this honor. When Amy called me, I was quite surprised, and I'm truly honored and humbled by this award. What I've learned about giving, I learned from my parents. They always told me, wherever you live, you should strive to make that a better place to be. And they always talked about the joy of giving, the joy of seeing that gift, whether it's in your talents or resources, and how that helps the organization that you care about. They always set a fine example for their children by giving to their church and other community activities. And today, there's a park named in my hometown in Central City, Nebraska, in their name. I can't help but think, as I stand before you today, and the other graduates out here, I'm at the end of my career, and you're at the beginning of your career. I do have a few simple things that I've learned along my journey that I'd like to share with you. And they're just don't give up. You'll find that the difference between failure and success might be just a little more effort or a little more time. Just don't give up. And you'll find that your biggest lessons you're going to learn in life and in whatever field that you are is that failures. And with failures, you'll re-examine how you do things and processes and things like that, but just don't give up. We're lucky to have Dakota Wesleyan in Mitchell. There's many students that go on to stay in the area, and they become the leaders for the future of this region. And the college brings much in culture, talent, and in sports. And I have to say, I've served 12 years on Dakota Wesleyan Board of Trustees, and what I've given in my time and resources to Dakota Wesleyan, I feel I've received much more in return. Thank you.
Would now like to invite Dennis Lee Kamink to come forward to receive the Honorary Doctorate of Law.
Dennis Kamick has spent his life in public service to his community and his state. A native of Aurora Center, Dennis graduated from Dakota Christian High School in 1973 and earned degrees from Mitchell Technical Institute and Dakota Wesleyan University. Dennis worked at the Mitchell Police Department from 1976 until his retirement in 2000. During his tenure at the police department, he served in numerous positions, including patrol officer and captain of detectives. He was instrumental in organizing the James Valley Drug Task Force and the Mitchell Area Crime Stoppers. In 2002, Dennis was appointed to the Board of Pardons and Paroles by the South Dakota Attorney General. He was reappointed in 2006 and 2010 and served as the board's chairman 4 times. Dennis was appointed by then-Governor Mike Rounds to serve on the Task Force on Corrections. He also served on the Department of Corrections Task Force on Mental Health. From 2001 to 2011, he shared his experience and passion for service and law with students as a part-time instructor at DWU. In 2011, Dennis was appointed Cabinet Secretary of the South Dakota Department of Corrections by Governor Dennis Daugaard. In his role, Dennis has led numerous initiatives, including the development of a tribal parole program at Sisseton Wahpeton Oyate, reforming administrative segregation in the prison system's restrictive housing program, which offers programming for more challenging inmates before their release, and implementing the Juvenile Justice Reinvestment Initiative. He has also initiated more training for prison staff to care for mentally ill inmates and increased faith-based opportunities for inmates. Since 2011, he has served on the South Dakota Public Safety Improvement Act Task Force, the Task Force on Mental Illness, and the Smart on Crime Task Force. He is currently the chairman of the Behavioral Health Committee for the Association of State Correctional Administrators. Dennis received the Mitchell Jaycees Outstanding Young Law Enforcement Officer Award, the Mitchell Exchange Club Outstanding Law Enforcement Officer of the Year Award, the Outstanding Layperson Award from the South Dakota Pharmaceutical Association, the Lions Club Outstanding Young Lions Club Member, and Lion of the Year Awards. He was named the Melvin Jones Fellow of the International Lions Club Foundation, and in 2015, he received the South Dakota Corrections Association Satin Canary Award, which is the most prestigious honor bestowed by the association. Dennis is a member of the First Reformed Church, where he has served in leadership roles. He has been a member of the Lions Club since 1982 and has served on both local and state levels, as well as being an active member of the Mitchell Area Chamber of Commerce. Dennis is also past member and chairman of the Community Alcohol and Drug Center, the Abbott House Board of Directors, Safe House Board of Directors, Safe House Foundation Board of Directors, and the Mitchell Regional Habitat for Humanity. He is married to Wyone, a retired associate professor of nursing at Dakota Wesleyan University, and they have 2 sons and 5 grandchildren. Denny, your career in public service provides an inspiring example of the call to help those most in need. You have shared your experiences and fostered future generations of public servants through your work, your example, and your career in law enforcement. In recognition of your life of service, it is our great privilege to present you with an honorary Doctor of Law degree.
I want to thank DWU Board of Directors for this great honor. As John Clark said, when President Novak called me, I was very surprised and I am very humbled. I have been fortunate to have gone through my whole professional career with being challenged each and every day. My recipe, first of all, Kamick men marry up. My wife, Wyon, has been a very great source of strength to me, and I'm sure my sons, Adam and Brian, would agree that Kay McMahon marry up. I am driven. Some would say that I'm also stubborn. I have had the opportunity to work and associate with great individuals that have encouraged and inspired me. From the Mitchell Police Department to members of nonprofit boards, to the Board of Pardons and Paroles, teaching at DWU, and now as Cabinet Secretary for the Department of Corrections. And fourth on that list, I serve a risen Lord, who is my strength. There have been many chapters in my life, and some were accomplishments and some were from loss and disappointment. I believe that we can learn from our trials and disappointments more than our accomplishments. One of those disappointments for my wife and I was the death of our son Jason. It was a long struggle. However, I do believe that I would not believe I would be able to accomplish the things I have without the struggles and the times of despair. There was also a time of healing and reflection, and most importantly, hope and optimism. Frederick Buckner said this, "Even the saddest things can become, once we have made peace with them, a source of wisdom and strength for the journey that still lies ahead." A source for me to find that hope is found in Paul's letter to the Romans, Romans 5, 1 through 5. "Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom we have gained access by his faith into this grace which we now stand. And we rejoice with the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we rejoice in our sufferings, because we know that our suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not disappoint us, because God has poured out his love into our hearts by the Holy Spirit, whom he has given us." In 2011, I thought the book of my professional life had basically been written. I enjoyed serving on the Board of Pardons and Paroles, teaching part-time at Dakota Wesleyan, serving on nonprofit boards, and running our business. Then Dusty Johnson gave me a call, who was the chief of staff for Governor Daugaard. And that changed my life. There was a chapter that I had not planned on. Governor Daugaard appointed me as Cabinet Secretary for the Department of Corrections. I thank him for his confidence in giving me the opportunity to serve the state of South Dakota. There were days, especially early on, that were very difficult. Some days I would simply get out of bed in the morning, put one foot in front of the other, and grind through the day. Did I mention that I am stubborn? There is a saying, if you don't want to get tackled, do not carry the ball. The past 6 years have been the most challenging, stressful, difficult, and yet the most satisfying years of my professional life. I have never worked with such committed, intelligent, dedicated individuals in my entire life. I am speaking of Governor Daugaard and his staff and the staff of the Department of Corrections. In closing, graduates, never close your mind or limit what you believe you can do. Keep striving for your goals. Open that door, pursue that interest, and be open for new opportunities to serve. Thank you.
Dusty Johnson of Mitchell will give this year's commencement address. Don't let the fish guts stop you. Johnson is a former policy advisor for the South Dakota Governor's Office and was the youngest utilities commissioner in the nation when he was elected to the South Dakota Public Utilities Commission in 2004. From 2010 to 2014, he served as the Chief of Staff to South Dakota Governor Dennis Daugaard and he currently serves as Vice President of Consulting at Vantage Point Solutions in Mitchell. Johnson announced last fall his candidacy for the 2018 race for South Dakota's single seat in the U.S. House of Representatives. And on a personal note, Dusty and his wife Jacqueline have 3 delightful boys. And Dusty is one terrific father, as well as an avid Star Wars fan, who I think will be the first at Disney World when that exhibit opens. But let me welcome to the stage now Dusty Johnson for the commencement address of 2017. Yes, thank you, Dusty. Appreciate it.
Delightful boys, is that what we're calling them now? All right. Yeah. So it was about 20 years ago, and I had been hired by the South Dakota Department of Game, Fish, and Parks to work at 2 of their campgrounds for the summer. In an acknowledgement of my physically imposing and intimidating physical stature, the job title was Campground Security Professional. Was working at Farm Island Recreation Area, which is just outside of Pierre, and it is a place where a lot of families go to camp and fish, have a great time. The other campground was quite a different place. It was about 40 miles outside of Pierre, and it was really a haven for anglers, die-hard fishermen and fisherwomen. And oh, you should have seen me back then in the sparkling tan and brown of the Game, Fish, and Parks uniform. 140 pounds of pure man meat, ready to do the work of the people. Now, despite the title, my job wasn't really all that closely related to security at all. I was really there to work the evenings, to answer questions that campers or anglers might have, to make sure that the campground was running smoothly. It was a fun job and a relatively easy one. Or at least it was until July 17th, 1997. Now on that day, John and I, he was the other young fellow who was working that night, we arrived at West Bend, that's the more remote of the 2 campgrounds, reporting for work. And West Bend, because it was so far off the beaten path, didn't have a very good water system. The water capacity wasn't sufficient to meet the needs of the campground at peak times. So they had a big cistern, a big tank. And over the course of the evening, it would fill up with water so that over the course of the day, the higher water use could draw it back down, and the cycle would repeat. Well, there was quite a tizzy going on when we arrived that day. A hose had been left on all night long, and the cistern did not have an opportunity to fill back up. You may not realize it, but good running water is pretty key to the operation of any campground. And so the campground manager called John and I over right as soon as we got there. Oh my gosh, we've got huge problems. We need you guys to help fix some of these problems. Now, how many of you know what a fish cleaning station is? Raise your hands, a few of you. A good number. Yeah, this is South Dakota. Some of you don't. Fish cleaning station is a large steel table upon which fishermen, fisherwomen would fillet their fish. There's a big hole in the middle that they would throw the refuse, the scales and the skin, the bones, the fish guts, right? And they'd throw it into this big hole where there are these large blades and a strong stream of water that would wash that trash away down through a pipe. Well, because there had been no water during the day, there wasn't anything to swoosh the guts away. The blades had just continued to kind of pack the fish guts further down into the pipe, and it had congealed into kind of a thick, nasty mess. I can see how much you're all enjoying this already. So the campground manager told John and I that somebody needed to open up the fish cleaning station, climb inside, undo the pipe, and then scoop out the congealed mess. I do not pray as often as I should. But at that moment, oh, I prayed. Oh, dear God. Oh, Lord of Lord, please pick John. And indeed, my prayer was answered. John was selected. And of course, he looked crestfallen, and he knew he was going to be in for a terrible day on the job. And I sat there ever so slightly smugly. And then the campground manager said, you know, Dusty, we've got a similar problem at the bathroom toilets. We need you to go take care of this. And indeed, at West Bend, there were 4 comfort stations. Now, this is the euphemism that they use to describe the toilet and the shower facilities at state recreation areas. Although I will tell you, on that day, in those walls, I found no comfort. Well, it was true, since there had been no water during the day, people had continued to attend to their bodily functions as they had to. There had been no water to sweep away that mess. And so there it sat hardened in the toilet. And I was supposed to remove this. I didn't really know how to. So for an hour or two, I sat there with a stick trying to chisel this off the porcelain nightmare that threatened to overtake my entire being. So after I had worked on that at all 4 comfort stations, then the campground manager called me on the radio. Dusty, he also called for John, I need you at the temporary fish cleaning station. What we had done, since the main station was down, we had erected a couple of picnic tables and a large 40-gallon garbage container. And people were cutting up their fish, filleting them, and then throwing their garbage into that large 40-gallon garbage can, which was now full. And so we were instructed to go get the tractor, put the shovel down, rock the garbage into the shovel, then take the tractor and the, hundreds and hundreds of pounds of fish guts to the dumpster, dump it out, come back so we could start over, so the fisherwomen could start over by throwing their guts in there. That all sounded fine. When we lowered the shovel to dump the 40-gallon drum into the dumpster, though, we realized that we had to get it back out. And so we tried kind of half-heartedly to standing outside the dumpster, scoop out some of the guts. And that wasn't working. You can imagine how that would be totally ineffective. Somebody needed to climb inside the dumpster. So I sat there already covered in a little bit of fish guts and a whole lot of toilet. Decided that I needed to take this bullet. So I climbed into the dumpster, and immediately the level of the garbage juice at the bottom of the dumpster was higher than the level of my work boots. So they were sort of over-swamped. Not awesome. And I was working to shovel out these fish guts, and then John, who was standing outside of the dumpster, very close to the edge of it, supervising, said, "Oh no," and he pointed with a look of abject terror on his face. And I turned around, and right behind me was this massive pile of lunch meat, which had gone bad and was covered with thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of maggots. And John then turned his head and threw up right into the side of the dumpster, which splattered all over me. I got all of the ricochet off of this. Now, you're going to think that this is exaggerated for comedic effect, and I would never do that to you. This is a Christian university here. I am walking straight for you today. It was the end of the day. At the end of the day, I was just laughing. I was covered in vomit, and I was covered in fish guts and toilet and garbage juice. And really, it is normally only the parents of sick newborns who experience that kind of storm. But I laughed. Now, John had a very different reaction. He said, and with truth in his eyes, "I am never coming back here again. I am done. I am done." Now, the lesson that he had learned that day was when the job gets too tough, you give up. I learned a very different lesson that day. The reason I was laughing was because I had beat work. I had won. The cosmos had thrown the most disgusting professional experience at me it would ever be able to muster. I had looked into the face of that disgustingness, and I had conquered it. I felt pretty good. Now, I am only really here to echo 2 of the great themes that our honorary doctors have already provided to us today. But there will be times in your life when you will be covered with fish guts and toilet, metaphorically speaking. There'll be times that you want to give up. I mean, that is really a disgusting experience. It will cause you to wonder if you should just give it all up. But those are really the days when we make our presence on this planet known. Unfortunately, many of the challenges you all will face will be far more serious and far more tragic than what happened to me at West Bend. But the choice before you remains the same. You can either be trampled down by that challenge, or you can choose to rise above it. And in fact, every single day for the rest of your life, you'll have an opportunity to make that decision, to answer that question, and how you answer it will be critical to your success on that day. In so many ways, graduates, we are all powerless. You didn't get to decide whether you were going to have perfect pitch or whether you were going to be born into a great socioeconomic class or how tall you were going to be. I never got a choice about whether I wanted to look like a blend of Orville Redenbacher and Howdy Doody. Your laughter wounds me. But the one thing that you have power over is your attitude. And you may not believe this today, but I tell you this from the bottom of my heart. Your time at Dakota Wesleyan has prepared you to tackle those challenges to a far greater degree than you imagine. Look at this university. Look back on your experience. You have a president and administrators and professors who tackle the challenges with smiles and with optimistic determination. You've gone to school at a place that chooses to honor people like John Clark and Denny Kamick. These people who have as much can-do attitude as any people I have ever met. You have chosen to go to school at a place that embraces faith and understands the incredible role it can play in generating and sustaining this attitude, this optimism, this perseverance that we've been talking about today. We live in cynical times. When we look at our media or when we hear from all too many of our political leaders, we see at the core their anger or cynicism or negativity. Make no doubt there are campuses, all too many of them, that do not teach and that do not live the values that you have learned here at Wesleyan. I have good friends in the class of 2017, Taylor and Mackenzie and Darren and Katie and Jesse. And I would say to them and to all of the graduates, never doubt that attending Dakota Wesleyan will be one of the very greatest decisions of your entire life. I haven't said anything groundbreaking or new today. Indeed, our two earlier speakers hit on these key issues already. John Clark told you don't ever give up. Denny Kamick told you that you will learn more from your trials than from your successes. Those are people with great attitudes. So I hope as you go out into the great world to continue making your mark on it, you remember that it's not only in the face of our greatest challenges that these decisions have to be made. In fact, if you can keep that fantastic attitude in the face of all of the minor adversities, the traffic jams and the bad haircuts and the stained shirts and the canceled meetings, if you can smile in the face of those minor adversities, you are so much better positioned to be able to smile at the true challenges that want to break all of us. Congratulations, graduates. You have an opportunity every day to be happy warriors, to be optimistic, to be productive, to let your light so shine across the whole world. My hope is that you will seize that opportunity and that you will never let the scales and bones and bloody entrails of Missouri River walleye or any freshwater fish stop you. Good luck.
We will now begin conferring degrees. President Novak, it is my privilege to report to you that the candidates here assembled have qualified in all respects for degrees when they successfully completed curricula offered by Dakota Wesleyan University. Okay. They have been recommended by the faculty and board of trustees to be awarded appropriate degrees in recognition of their academic accomplishments. Will all candidates for bachelor degrees please rise and remain standing until all bachelor's degrees have been conferred? President Novak, I have the privilege of presenting those candidates who, upon completion of all degree requirements, are qualified in all respects for a bachelor's degree. Will you please hold your applause until all degrees have been conferred? This first group of candidates has graduated summa cum laude. Mason James Cahoy. Dearney Lee Clark. Kathleen Ann Hotler. Brooke Mary Jean Luwaji. Emily Anna Pengilly. Aisha Christine Abink. Ariana Jessie Arampatsis. Matthew Cole Bader. Shelby Marie Budmeyer. Macy Marie Chambers. Cody DeLon Warnes. John Jacob Fabricius. Nadine Coda Gross. Keegan Lloyd Hadley. Thomas Matthew Hogue. Sean Emmett Riley. Taylor Savannah Spence. Lisa Ray Stanley. Dustin Norbert Steckler. Elliot Michael Banks. Alexander Ora Barringer. Brady Stephen Bonte. Coleman Trent Caldwell. Austin Ross Calhoun. Dylan James Campbell. Desiree Lynn Chantel Curry. Lexi Jo Marie Denecki. Gabriel Buck Dirksen. Megan Elizabeth Dixon. Josue Isai Garcia Cruz. Samantha Joanne Guyman. Matthew John Henriksen. Corey Allen Jans. Kellum Matthew Karst. Bailey Ann Keller. Michael John Kinsler. Elizabeth Rose Florence Klein. Ryan Robert Cornely. Zachary Richard Kubik. Jamie Ellen Lillestall. Larissa Gail Lepke. Jessica Lopez Rojo. Austin Cole Lepore. William Pierce Lutjen. Tate William Martin. Jade Ryan Miller. Jorgen Lee Munson. Neil Dean Nagel. Jesse Adam Olson. Taylor Evelyn Smith Reese. Kristen Doris Sabers. Kurt Gerard Schwarzenbart. Stephen Roy Somerville. Alexandra Nicole Sterling. Tanner William Sweats. Kelly Ann Taylor. Zachary Otto Utek. Jacqueline Desiree Valdez. Isaac J. Van Essen. Robert Tyler Waddle. Tanner Joseph Weber. Michael Wayne Whitney. Elena Birch. Ian Christopher Hyde. Adam Randall Scott Borman. Krista Lynn Huber. Braden DeMar Jorgensen. Andrew James Schwader. Alicia Jean Van Tassel. Kayla Nadine Vandenhoek Weber. Cal Edward Weiss. Tyson Allen DeGroat. Landon Ted Fishback. McKenna Linda Hancock. Delana Marie Paulson. Rachel Anne Marie Raquel. Justine Joy Sokup. Lucas John Carr. Kendra Jo Cheeseman. Shayna Lynn Frost. Jace Victor Goodfellow. Matthew Charles Jensen. Kelsey May Niffen. Cody Alexander Larson. Lauren Mackenzie Linville. Kevin John Lopez. Kaylee Susan Hook Mans. Daniel James Mitchell. Tanner Lee Monk. Marissa Eleanor Soderberg. Jesse Lee Taylor. Peter Joseph Wartenberg. Mackenzie Grace Wadenbach. Darren Scott Workmeister. Patrick Quinn Wetham. Blaine Elton Bacon. Elizabeth May Bauer. Madeline Ann Bauer. Amber Lynn Lowry Blowett. Cody Lucas Bonte. Louis Michael Brusky. Ashley Sharon Berkman. Nathan Paulus Dahl. Ashton Marie Deedy. Kimberly Ann Dirks. Brittany Renee Drake. Skylar Shea Forgy. Chandler Lynn Frederick. Taylor James Haley. Augustus Garrett Haskell. Erica Jo Harold. Linnea Pearl Johnson. Michael Ray Johnson. Eugene Hartman Katz. Taylor Francis Kenyon. Sarah Joanna Conrad. Chelsea Ann Coulomb. Dustin Dwayne Livingston. Brady Allen Meyer. Audrey Marie Mason. Taylor Nicole Moore. Tremaine Moore. Brady John Mutter. Brittany Leanne Now. Kayla Marie Olson. Jacob William Paulo. Peyton Christopher Price. Matthew William Randall. Dawn Lynn Rattenborg. Jennifer Nicole Skelling. Austin James Schroeder. Hannah Marianne Spates. Rachel Lynn Steiner. Elise Kristen Sutherland. Kelsey Ann Tagg. Thanks. Zachary Levi Teal. Jill Ann Teetsy. Sarah Michelle Twibell. Michelle Ann Van Epps. Desiree Lynn Van Zee. Catherine Ann Vetch. Myra Jean Workmeister.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University and the State of South Dakota, I do hereby confer upon you bachelor's degree according to the department in which you have qualified with all the honors, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Please join me in congratulating the bachelor degree recipients for the class of 2017. The recipients may now move their tassels from the right to the left side of their mortarboards, officially signifying their graduation. You may be seated.
Will all the candidates for the master's degrees please rise and remain standing until all master degrees have been conferred. President Novak, I have the privilege of presenting those candidates who, upon completion of all degree requirements, are qualified in all respects for the degree of Master of Arts and Master of Business Administration. Please hold your applause until all degrees have been conferred. Bryce Waylon Burletic. Danny Alaska Garcia Havens. Riley Jacob Mesner. Jennifer Lynn Luperlark. Danielle D. Peterson. Logan John Allers. Tyann Lee Budenhagen. Trevor David DeVestern. Jordan Marie Harmelink. Jared Tanner Nealon.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University and the State of South Dakota, I do hereby confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts and Master of Business Administration according to the department in which you have qualified, with all honors, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Please join me in congratulating the 2017 Master Degree recipients. Will all bachelor degree, associate degree recipients please rise again? Ladies and gentlemen, the graduates of the class of 2017. No.
Would Luann Clark please join us on stage for the presentation of the Clark Award for Teaching Excellence? Graduates may sit. The Clark Award for Teaching Excellence is an endowed award established by the Clark family of Mitchell, South Dakota. It is awarded annually in recognition of a Dakota Wesleyan University faculty member who has exhibited the following characteristics: excellence in teaching, excellence in serving the needs of students, and excellence in service to the institution and the community. The Clark Award Selection Committee receives nominations from faculty, staff, and students. It reviews those nominations and presents a slate of candidates to the Academic Affairs Committee of the Dakota Wesleyan Board of Trustees. That committee makes the final decision. In reviewing the nominations submitted on behalf of this year's eventual recipient, in conjunction with past teaching evaluations of this faculty member, it is clear that this year's recipient is richly deserving of this award. Two particular themes emerge in reviewing students' comments about this professor. They center on the passion that this professor has for his or her subject matter and the enthusiasm that this person brings to the classroom. A sampling of student comments. Passionate teacher. The professor's passion for the subject is clear. The professor is extremely passionate about teaching. The professor is always super enthusiastic. The professor is very enthusiastic about teaching. I cannot even begin to explain how passionate this professor is. He or she comes to class every day with the same enthusiasm and work ethic, and it rubs off on the students. The professor is constructive in his or her criticism and always quick to give praise. The professor shares his or her talents and passion with us every day, and we are so incredibly lucky to be a part of that. Student comments are not, however, limited solely to the attributes of passion and enthusiasm. It is clear that students also recognize the wealth and depth of knowledge that this professor brings to the classroom. Some more comments. This professor knows what he or she is doing. The professor knew the material, and not just from reading it from a book. I think that's what kept the course exciting and the students wanting to know more. One can tell that the professor loves the subject very much and is very knowledgeable about it, way beyond what I would say is normal for professors, whom I have encountered so far, and I have encountered quite a few. It's also abundantly clear that this professor cares deeply about his or her students. A few more quotes. Not only does the professor care about our discipline-related knowledge and abilities, the professor genuinely cares about his or her students and displays this care and concern consistently. The professor has been a large influence on my decision to stay and complete my schooling at Dakota Wesleyan. This professor pushed me further than anyone has in my 4 years at Dakota Wesleyan. The professor has helped me to grow, not only with respect to my mastery of subject matter and skills, but also as an individual. Being a major in this professor's program and working closely with this professor has made my 4 years here so incredible that I'm saddened by the thought of leaving. At the same time, this professor has prepared me so well for my next steps that I feel ready and excited for life after Dakota Wesleyan. Finally, although this professor serves the university in a variety of ways through committee service and such, his most noteworthy service undoubtedly consists of the countless hours he spends developing the vocal and musical gifts of Dakota Wesleyan students and sharing those gifts with the campus community, the city of Mitchell, and the greater region. Would you please join me in congratulating the 2017 recipient of the Clark Award for Teaching Excellence, Associate Professor of Music, Dr. Clinton J. Desmond.
Congratulations.
I'm speechless. I want to thank everyone for this honor and privilege. of course, I couldn't accept this without thanking my beautiful and talented wife, who is my better half, who helps me with everything, and I would be nowhere in this world without her. So half this award goes to you, Erin. And of course, I want to thank the graduating class of Dakota Wesleyan from the choral and the band department. You guys have been fantastic, and I tell you every day how much I love and appreciate you all, and I'm going to miss you all. And because of your wonderful hard work over the past 4 years, we're going to welcome a very large incoming class next year. And even though we'll have a very large incoming class, they will not replace you in my heart. So thank you, everyone, once again. This is an honor and a privilege.
Will Lisa Stanley please come forward to lead the audience? Oh, she's doing it already. We're confused, she's not. All right, thank you.
Will everyone please stand? Show me the Scotchman who doesn't love the thistle. Show me the Englishman who doesn't love the rose. Show me the true-hearted song of old Wesleyan who doesn't love the spot where the tumbleweed grows.
Go now with this benediction. Before us it is blessed. Behind us it is blessed. Below us it is blessed. Above us it is blessed. Around us it is blessed as we set out with Christ. Our speech is blessed as we set out with God. With beauty before us, with beauty behind us. With beauty below us and beauty above us. With beauty around us, we set out for holy places indeed. Amen.